Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, as ever, to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera, and there's gonna be definitely more breaking than usual, I think. How did I go with the star and scroll thing? Oh, way back in, I want to say, 2008? Somewhere in that. Actually, no, probably quite a bit earlier than that. More like 2004, at a guess. I had a webcomic called Remember, hence Remember Comic. That's where that comes from a whole bunch of times. And that particular star with the swirl in it is the it's the flag for a country called Arcania inside of that webcomic. How I came up with it back in 2004, not a clue, but it stuck. And I liked it. It's a nice abstract visual that nobody's replicated elsewhere, so... Yeah, Arcania was a nation of spellcasters. Like mages and whatnot. Mages, warlocks, the like. It reads well? No, it doesn't. For one thing, I was not a good artist back then. Like, oy. I don't think I made it at the point where I was still making everything in MS Paint, but I still did not do a great job on it. It gets better over time. The writing, questionably so, but you know. Links, literally remembercomic.co.uk. You can find it in every single video I make. It's like top of the description. Although I gotta say the website is highly outdated, because it probably hasn't been updated since 2008. But, yeah. Anyways. What we are working on today is something that would be an example of my finger slipped, which is to say species. So, while we have the types system and the abilities system, what's meant to drag those together is called the species system. The species are very simple. They are collections of... There we are. That's what I'm looking for. They are collections of abilities and creature types, and through the abilities command, what we can do is apply a given species to a given, any entity, actually, but players, probably first and foremost, and that will allow us to have, like, actual moderated groups of things that we can give to people, and we can say, yes, these are all, like, balanced and, like, fair to play inside of an actual playthrough. And essentially, that brings us one step closer to having a whole character sheet, but I don't currently have a full-blown character sheet planned. Lord knows that hasn't stopped me before, but still. And the slight problem that I'm currently having is that in order to allow people to make their own and customize species, we need to be able to have them be in JSON data, as part of data packs. And that requires that we have a data generator, and we have a way to deserialize them from those files and as such. And that's not the most straightforward thing in the world, I have discovered, because as near as I can tell, I'm doing it perfectly well and it's not working. So we're going to be referring quite a bit to this mod for today. And this is the Vampirism mod. I'm not ripping code directly from here. Lord knows it does a lot of things I don't need to do, and a lot of things very strangely in a lot of places. But it also does storing customizable things in data packs so it can, pardon me, use them later, which is the thing that I need to know. If you ever have a problem in a programming project, do not be afraid to find somebody else who's already done it and see how. Just don't clone their entire thing, because that's frowned upon, to say the least. You dedicated an embassy to Arcania while you were in your hut. Oh, interesting. What's that? There's like one sentence from Arcania that I really, really cannot get out of my head, which is, what is it? Arcania te asa shinai. Which translates to, and my pronunciation on that's probably garbage, but nonetheless, translates to Arcania lives. And Arcania has a deep history. Which I will not go into today, but nonetheless. Like, its original island name was Arcania, and then it was more commonly known as Marshall's Ghost to the more, like, recent civilizations, and then it was colonized and turned into Arcania. Yes, white English dude wrote about a colonization. Weird, that. As I say, it was not great writing. Okay, so skills is the major thing that I'm following here with regards to a model of how to implement what I'm doing. The problem that I have is that first we need to make a registry for all of our species, then we need to actually register the species, which we do here, and then we need to add a listener right here. And what that does is when all the JSON listeners are reloaded, when your data pack gets reloaded or whatnot, it digs into that, finds the right folder, and dredges it up to try and deserialize it into meaningful contents. Problem being, at least some of these don't appear to ever be called under most circumstances, and whilst we do have the species provider registered inside of our data generators, where are you? There you are. Yep, right there. It doesn't seem to generate anything, or more specifically, it does, but it doesn't actually put it into our mod files down here. So if we look inside of data, we'll see that there is no species folder in here. There absolutely should be. So, yeah, made a little dilapidated, but you do have screenshots set on your USB for collection. Oh, that's nice. That's good to know. Very good. So, first things first, we need to try and get our data at least generated, if not generated in the correct place. If it does generate at all, it ends up down here, but it more or less only generates sometimes. I don't exactly see why, but sometimes it should be generating stuff and that we should be seeing it all, but it's not. So if we run data, which calls all these data providers, we should see it get generated. Where's my folder? That one? Yeah, this one. If it generates at all, it should generate in here. Okay, completely done. Species, completely empty. Let's try just getting rid of that for a hot second. Tags here you can see has generated quite happily. So entity types, okay, never mind, it is not generated whatsoever, but bleh. Okay, right, fine by me. Just generate data for me, please. That's all I ask of you. The species are fully written to actually store themselves to JSON data. That is right down here. So we have wherever you can select it, because that'll tie in later to when we add a login screen.
Just snatch them all up.
Or a load-in screen, I guess, specifically. Yep, not in there at all. Okay, let's just get rid of this entirely. And then maybe it'll do other things. Maybe. Yeah, talkie song. I don't think I can blacklist that. I don't know why it's even there. My settings on Pretzel specifically say instrumental only, which means somebody did not mark that properly. But yeah, the plan is that if there is a value set in the server config, then when players first log in, they will be presented with a screen very similar, I can't avoid this, but very similar to the Origins mod. And then species that are marked as can players select will be in a list that you can actually rifle through and get what you like. Yeah, it's not generating literally anything now. That's very curious. If I just get rid of the data folder? It's like I'm kind of just curious exactly how much this is going. I can remove for this before it actually just like breaks entirely. Now we do have an example of working data generation, and that is in various equipment where we generate loot tables and such to add our stuff to it. Okay, just checking all of this, see if we can see species in this list. I'm not seeing anything outside of Minecraft here. So maybe that's the problem. Seems implausible, but maybe that's the problem. I can't actually boot the game right now because of the issue of we don't have any data in here. So let me see if I can at least fix that for the moment by adding there. There are species, but there's nothing in it, so should be fine. And let's see, let's add ourselves a quick little thing here. File, there you are. Let's just call this human.json. Why not? Okay, we're just gonna manually generate some code here and see if it turns up and also works. So, can player select true? Not sure if it'll accept that, but we're gonna put it there anyways. Types is an array, in which case we'll have just humanoid. Helps if I type it correctly. There we go. And abilities, another array, just empty. Okay, that should be the rough formatting, I think, of how our JSON files work. I did have them earlier today, but then they vanished, so oh well. Okay, let's see if I can't boot the client. I have some breakpoints in here to try to figure out if things are actually getting called at any point. Are we doing Central 2? Oh, yeah. Oh god, the... Okay, an example of how bad my art was. The original flag has purple and green. Like, that was a poor choice, but... I think it used to be purple and green on all of my, like, YouTube assets as well, but... Now it's very tasteful white. White and transparent, works much better. Okay. Freezing because we've hit one of the breakpoints. Okay, so register species. Good. I don't think I saw build species, but that's what breakpoints for right now. Was indeed purple and green on my YouTube assets. Yeah. Oof. Boy, was that a nice string. Okay. And then we are calling species registry apply. Good.
Line G witch.
Yeah. Hello, Skies. How you doing? Thanks for the sub. Okay, next breakpoint is an error. Yep, okay, safe mode. Try that. Reload listener's event. Good, okay. Running through, calling that. Is there gonna be a problem now? Quite possibly. Failed to load world. Yeah. Okay. So even it like with the default pack, it's the vanilla data pack, it still won't run. So even with those things, even with human just in there. Okay. Where's my species registry? There's my species registry. Let's add human. Why not? I have a variety of things that are planned. Human is sort of the null, the default, but yeah. Not many people visited the Floating City where all the embassies were? Oh, that's a shame. I know you put a lot of work into it. Oh yes, humans, the classic default. by default you can select it. Yeah, so I actually don't need to include that. There we go. Heck all interesting about them, but there they are. We also have the Necropolitan, which is a name I expect to get a lot of jokes, but it is a form of undead that can still regen health naturally. We've had a fair few new abilities get added over the past, like, week or so. You see, there's the registry. Like, that's our full list right there. Which works wonderfully, I've noted. But let me see, we got Blind, which is an effect that formerly was just implemented by the various equipment's Blindfold. We have Blind Sight, Breath Weapons, Damage Reduction, Damage Resistance, Explosion, Fast Healing, Ghost Form, Heat, Hold Breath, Incorporeality, Invisibility, Natural Armor, Natural Regeneration, Poison, Status Effects, Teleport to Home, Teleport to Position, and Water Walking, which I think is the most recent one. It's more or less a form of incorporeality, or a reverse form of incorporeality, which renders water and optionally lava, like, impassable as long as you're not swimming or sneaking. So you can just literally run across an ocean because it's just treated as full blocks for you. It's sort of like Frostwalker, but it doesn't actually cause any block updates or such. It's pretty nice there, pretty nice. But okay, so what is going on here? We know that our data providers aren't generating anything, and that's probably a start to things being very wonky. Why aren't they providing anything? That's the next question. Because we got this. We do have on-gather data called somewhere, I could have sworn. Hello? Ah, that could be part of it. Yeah, that's not called anywhere. It's weird, when did that happen? I could have sworn that that was registered somewhere an age ago, but apparently not. Now I need to remember exactly where that's called from. Let's see. Vampirism mod, gather data. Okay, which is right there. What I need to know specifically is which bus it gets added to. Gather data. The mod event bus. Okay. There. Okay, hopefully that'll get our data generating properly. Don't know about properly, but it might at least generate. Okay, that's good. We see stuff there. Creating defaults, good. Is it in the mod files this time around? Nope. But it should be, at least in the generated files. Data, varrods, species, and tags. Okay, good, that's all there. And there's all of our stuffs. So human code looks, I think, pretty much identically to how I wrote it in here. Abilities empty, types humanoid. Can player select true? Yep, that is exactly how I wrote it, in fact. Whereas a more complex example, let's have a look at Archfey. Yep, there we are. That's definitely what Archfey looked like. Hooray! Called the Floating City of Romano, which is the villager city mentioned in Undermine. Wow, going deep on the lore there. Okay, so if you want to start making your own abilities, well, your own species, sort of something like that. We'll be adding a little bit more to it, but for right now it'll work. Okay, so if I dump that into there, copy, yes, overwrite it, might as well, it's not going to cause any problems, I don't think. Okay, so now if we try to boot, are we going to actually see anything? Let's find out. Because now we actually have some stuff there. If I can actually boot into the world, then we'll be able to show off some stuffs. I haven't done a whole ton much other than the species system. I've mostly just been refining the abilities system that we had last time around to make it look nicer. Although right now the abilities screen is completely absent. Okay, let's read through here. Game data null. Don't see much there. Register name, species. Okay, good to know that got there. There's all of our abilities getting registered in. Very good. I know there's literally heck all in here. Register name, abilities, reads through a whole ton of stuff. Register name, species, nothing. Now granted, these aren't configurable, but let's try running it through safe mode, shall we? Nope. Will not even let us do safe mode. Because species is still empty. Why? Presumably similar reasons to things being hacked up. Hang on, carpet wasn't generated. Tags, yeah, items right here, empty. Interesting. That might be something we don't fix. Okay, data. I didn't see item tags here. Right, let's open up a different window for equipment to see if we can figure out what's going on there. So that's gonna probably be a lot of trial and error, so apologies for that. You can at least still make me do squats every now and then. Okay, so there's the various oddities, and there's the item tags. So something much alike this, we should be able to get our item tag in for carpet. Next question, where are we already using carpet? Because that should be inside of crafting. Because we have the flag right there. Or I thought we had the flag. I could have sworn the flag was craftable. Held flag. There you are. We have recipes down here for all of these. Let's see, the gay flag, I think is it? Tag. Carpet. Okay. Do we not generate that? One would think we would generate that if it's part of the data pack. Why did I put a recipe then? Am I completely overlooking the thing I'm looking for? It must be somewhere. Yeah, I don't see recipes anywhere. So is that not then the... Very curious. Let's turn off this. Comment it out. It should be hopefully a huge problem, but let's just do that. See if that'll let us actually boot in, and then we can find out what on earth's going on. See if we can actually craft our flags. Because that might indicate a deeper problem with our data packs. Oh hooray, here we are. Okay, so as you can see on the top right, our abilities now actually have a fleshy little view. That is the favorited abilities, so top to bottom is like selection, is favorite ability key 1 to 5. They respond in text and color whenever you are not able to activate a given ability for whatever reason. Dimension Door actually had a recent overhaul to try and ensure that it puts you as close as safe and possible to where you are aiming. So if I aim about there, and it was actually in view. Dimension Door does have a range, I need to remember that sometime. It can... It doesn't... It tries very hard, at least, not to plonk you into the wrong place, but... it's not 100% just yet. But over times, it will plonk you right on top. It has 20 attempts getting up to about 5 blocks away from where you were pointing. But it will try and put you somewhere that you won't take damage, and such, now. Hearthstone hasn't changed, Ghost Form hasn't changed. I've been working very hard on the abilities menu, but for right now most of it's turned off, just so I can try and get it to work properly. Who knows, we might end up referencing something from Alamantu for that tonight. But yeah. So, dev species. Pretty sure this will be completely empty, because why would it not be? But eventually you'll be able to retrieve and set the species of specific entities. Just not right now. Okay. Let me see. Trying to think. We have a... Oh yes, we have a new effect. I forgot to mention. So, in Various Oddities 1.12, there was an effect called Petrification, which was preceded by an effect called Petrifying, which every time it ran out of time on its meter, it would decrease its potency, I think it was, by 1, and then reset its timer. So essentially, it was an ever-increasing debuff that at the end of itself, when it finally ran out of Amplifier, would give you Petrification, which is a permanent effect, but can be avoided in some fashions. But when you were petrified, what would happen was you were given a screen, essentially a game over screen, but you could wait there as long as you liked, until like somebody came and somehow rescued you from petrification, or you could click a button to basically insta-give yourself, just so you would not necessarily hang around. We now have a similar, not identical, but very similar effect with paralysis, which does this. So we've got stuff to do here. We can check our options, open to land, do all this other things. We can open to land necessarily to save ourselves, that sort of thing. We are still perfectly capable of taking damage and whatnot. This is not a pause screen. But we can't do anything but leave or hit resign to fate. But we also have this little timer going. And when that timer finally ticks out, as we'll see in a hot second, we are fully back. But whilst we are paralyzed, we have just a peripheral view. We are shunted into third person. There are some things in Dungeons & Dragons that you can do whilst paralyzed. You can, for instance, perform spells that don't require somatic or, well, verbal or somatic components, which is to say things you say or hand gestures you make, that sort of thing. So purely mental ones, for the most part. You can cast those spells. We don't currently have spells implemented, so that's not really a huge concern. But later on, there'll be, like, things. Now, paralysis takes place instantly. Petrification does not. Most times, I think there's only one case, as near as I've been able to find, inside of Dungeons & Dragons version 3.5, which is our baseline for this mod. There's only one creature that gives you permanent paralysis, that is the Lich, and only at melee range, so good advice for you there. Don't get into melee range with a Lich. Although they're spellcasters, so that's generally the best place to be. Tricksy, that. More or less everything else tries to give you a couple of rounds. I think there's like one instance of weeks, another one gives hours, a few give minutes, but most of them it's like a matter of seconds. So that's how long you'll be paralyzed, so you can make your own call on whether or not you want to resign yourself to being paralyzed and just sort of die ahead of time, or if you want to just wait it out. Under most circumstances, you will be able to wait it out. Kind of handy, that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I will be re-adding a petrification. Just gonna wait a little bit on that one. Paralysis was sort of fast-tracked because paralysis is a very common immunity amongst creature types. So if we have a look at the creature types... paralysis. No paralysis. Right there. That is present on constructs, dragons, elementals, oozes, plants, and undead. Which is to say, nearly half of all super types are immune to paralysis, just per writ. Petrification doesn't quite count as paralysis, but something to bear in mind. Poison obviously is another one. That occurs in 5 of the super types. No critical hits. We also have that implemented. That's also present in 5. A lot of the same creatures, you'll note, across this list. But yeah, I wanted to actually implement paralysis so that picking a super type that is immune to paralysis was a meaningful choice. There's not a creature or a spell or whatnot that causes paralysis right now, but the poison ability, which I believe I mentioned a little while back, does have customizable status effects attached to it. So it usually just gives you poison, but it can also give you any number of varying effects. So the plan for, once we get species working, is to add templates, and templates include the Lich, for whom they will have a poison ability, which deals in paralysis. So yeah, ain't that gonna be fun? I'm counting the days until somebody turns the poison ability and the paralysis effect against me. Because I'm sure that's inevitable. Apparently I was like also way ahead of the curve in 1.12 when I made the petrification ability, because the way that it worked was that it opened that menu. So the players who were paralyzed and petrified and whatnot couldn't actually take any actions. Which is more or less the only actual way to paralyze somebody in Minecraft. You just open a menu, because then their mouse doesn't move, they can't like activate their movement keys, they can't do anything, essentially. So they're paralyzed, essentially. But I did that in 1.12. Apparently, at least according to Kira and Dave, basically nobody's done that. Vampirism in its most recent versions is adding something like that for vampires that are incapacitated and waiting to just like reanimate, essentially. But basically, otherwise, I'm the only person, apparently. I can't speak at the entirety of the Minecraft modding ecosystem, but apparently I'm the one that's actually done that, which is baffling to me, but bleh. So anyways, that is what I have been working on here, now that we can actually see it. Okay, but we've got the data generating. That's good. It's not going into data.varad in the resources for the main, but we've got it generating. That's a start. Can we get the registry going after that? Like, can we boot just fine with that part? Probably not, but let's find out. Okay, yep, we still got that part going, apparently. And can we call on registered species? Don't think there'll be anything here, but you know, just in case. According to that, there are actually things registered. Because otherwise it wouldn't warn us and actually also tell us that they were registered. So, yep, starting provider, various entity species, generating species data, archfey, human, lizardfolk, necropolitan, skeleton, and zombie. There's a fair few abilities I need to implement before all of the, even these ones are actually set up properly, but that's what we got for right now. Okay. And if I... Well, firstly, let me just toggle my breakpoints. Apparently I already did. Interesting. Oh, right, because only one of them's actually still visible. I think that one's still broken. Nope. Okay, fine. Okay. Let's boot client. Some of those are definitely only run outside of the data section. So we have two major problems. The first is that the data generators don't seem to drop species and whatnot into the into the actual mod data here, where I'm fairly certain it should end up, but And the second is that we don't seem to be able to read it. But the plan is that on login, you'll pick a species, and then there are certain events that can happen inside of the game that allow you to apply different templates to yourself. So, for instance, if you are slain by a certain attack of a vampire, then you are turned into a vampire spawn. Or if somebody uses, like, create undead on your corpse, then you're a zombie or a skeleton, that kind of thing. And if you undergo a certain convoluted endgame ritual, you are a lich. That sort of thing. Or maybe you're hit by a magical spell and you turn into a half-dragon, for a slightly less unpleasant option. Templates tend to have fairly significant effects and fairly high power stuff, especially the lich, for instance, with its probably only semi-permanent paralysis, because that could get really annoying otherwise. So consequently, you can't choose a templated creature when you first join a world, but you can choose from any of a number of species, allowing you to immediately customize how you want to play the game, essentially. Sort of like choosing your types, but, you know. Okay, abilities, dev, species. That's interesting. We have immediately loaded up some stuff in here, but nothing. We have no suggestions here, which it should be suggesting stuff. Let's try and drink human. Failed to identify, so I couldn't load it. Interesting. Possibly because I'm doing this wrong? Who knows? Yeah, it should be able to retrieve something. Species registry, get species. Right here. Okay. Let's just have this print out however many things are in the species. Registry. Okay. Entries. Size. See if anything gets into that registry. Which I think currently it won't because we're not actually loading anything. We have our defaults, but Those are just for defining what gets into the data generator. And as we've identified, there are still some problems there. Actually, there was a question. Chat, did I actually attempt to boot up the client after I fixed the data generator? I don't remember. But yeah, once we get actual species working, then no longer necessarily is everything relegated to only if you have access to commands. Then players will be able to log in, choose a species, that kind of thing. Things will be able to happen in the world that will apply all of these things. You won't just have to, like, code everything, essentially. Okay, so there's our list of stuff. Let's say human. 0 known species. Okay, so somehow we have this whole list of stuff right here, but none of it actually got in. That's interesting. Where is it getting its names from, out of curiosity? Because when we get to that part of the command where it actually like checks all the species, it looks for all of the keys. So then why did we see nothing? Best guess, it initiated the static here, which populated the default species list. At a guess. So let's check in here, set registry name. Set registry name. Existing registry name, check registry name, check prefix. Yeah, that's it. Potentially dangerous alternative prefix. Okay. Guessing it can't do any forcing here. Right. So the defaults list isn't even getting initialized then, which might explain a little bit. Might. Yeah, there's our abilities. All happy as a clam. No species registry though. I note that. So why does that happen? Let's have a look. So here's their mod registries inside of Vampirism. These are declared in a static just before the init that calls them in. Which is itself called inside of the registry manager. At on build registries, which we do have in here in various oddities, right there. And it does literally nothing, but it is declared after that static, rather than just here, which is odd to me, but Minecraft code is weird. So who knows? Maybe that's the deciding factor. I doubt it, but you never know. Let's have ourselves this out here. So that should mean when it calls init, it calls that, just by writ. If this turns out to just purely be a sequencing issue, I'm gonna be so annoyed, because sequences are the bane of my existence. Bane of everybody's existence, really. Having to do things in a specific, predefined order that nobody told you is, of course, frustrating as hell.
Television advertisements. I think Eat Fresh is a great slogan. They managed to convince an entire
Okay.
continent, if not the globe, that eating a foot of bread was somehow good for you.
Just downvote that one, thank you. Alright. So, starting provider, block tags, entity tags, species, generating species data, created species registry, all the good stuff. Okay. How was that? Build registries is called there. Let's have ourselves a quick thing here as well. Built species registry. And we'll see if that works in about 10 minutes when I get back from my break. So I will catch you momentarily. I'm surprised for all this. Nobody's actually made me stand up and like take a breath for a moment by doing some squats. But we'll be back in 10 minutes. See you then. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break there. So, in the interim, we are currently basically just trying to make sure that we get this registry to work, that it is generated at the right time, that it is then populated appropriately, and that it stores its values in the data that we can then read back from. But problems with that. The first and big obvious problem is that our data isn't getting reread, so things are going quite haywire whenever we try to actually do anything involving reading them. If I uncomment this, I'm fairly certain things will break again, but if we run the client, we can try and see what pops up in the console. This is one of those nights where you can't do anything without doing a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes work first, and you don't really have any kind of meaningful diagnostic for when they're not working, so it just sort of keeps breaking until you figure out the one thing that you actually have to do. Okay, we see abilities. I do not see the species sets. That's interesting. Yeah. Abilities is loaded, but not the species. Very curious, because abilities isn't even registered to do that. Now it's created it. Okay. So that means that this doesn't ever get called, as near as I can tell. Let's check the log, just to be certain. I'll go debug. Missing registries, Varad species. Interesting. Is that just because it didn't get called? Species registry. Init, created it. Yeah, it's not called anywhere. Interesting. Okay. So why doesn't that event get called? Oh, it's just new registry event, never happens. Modbus event. We don't call that. Okay, I see a problem. I see the problem here. Add listener. This on build registries. That should hopefully resolve that problem at the very least. I don't know how these things managed to happen. I'm fairly certain I had these things working earlier, and I definitely do not recall deleting the code for that. That would be weird. But who knows? Maybe that's the whole problem. Okay. There's species, right there. Okay, nothing got added to it. Little alarming, but... the fact that it exists, good sign. And nothing happening there, which means it's already been declared. Good. If I remove that, is it now going to work entirely? Fingers crossed. Let's just check the log for created species registry. Yep, right there. Good to see, good to see. That means the init got called. So now if we boot this, it should hopefully know what's going on here. So just run the data first, see if anything happens then. Okay, species right there. Good start. Generating species data, all the good stuff. Grand, with no concern for its actual type, that's also good. Because that certainly didn't happen before. Nothing happening there, but if we look in the generated section, resources, data, or species, right there, good. Apparently wasn't modified, but it's probably fine. Okay, so now the real test. Run client and see if we can boot into a world. If this doesn't if this doesn't work, I'm going to kindly ask somebody to redeem squats, just so that I have something to distract myself from mode. Okay, there's species again, good. Species and no complaints about it, so that's good. Booting it in. No signs of problems. Okay, good. When am I going to see if I look for species then? Still nothing. So we have the registry, but we're not actually reading anything into it. Why not? We have here, right here, the registry should be readable. So, was there anything in the log about it failing? No occasion where it failed. Okay, which means it just couldn't find anything. It wasn't given anything. It's not crashing, which is progress. It just also doesn't have anything. On the one hand, we could just say if there's nothing, then load all the defaults, but under those circumstances, it might be a condition that people have already intended for there to be nothing there. Maybe they removed all of the species rather than turning off the selection screen. I don't know. Okay, there's our world. Do this. Yes, refresh, thank you very much. Looking for the sentence attempting to load species. See if that came up. It did, but there was nothing in it. Okay, why was there nothing in it? That is the next question. Answer, because there's probably something wrong with our data. Okay, well, I will take a break for a moment. Just hang out with Dexter over here, I guess. And let me quickly shove Dexter in here. Just so you guys can actually see what he's up to while I do this. Okay, so if you weren't aware, I have some medical issues at the moment, which are resulting in lots of weight gain. But I started off with very borderline underweight kind of mass. So when my doctor found out that, well, first when my doctor found out that I didn't actually weigh 240 pounds, as she mistakenly believed, she realized, hang on, you're actually really close to being unhealthily thin, which, yeah, I'll grant, 103 pounds, 103.4 pounds for about 15 years. I have not gained weight until this thing happened, but that means I gain weight, and then my doctor put me on doctor's orders to gain weight, so I'm gaining a lot of weight, and pretty much all of it is going back here, rather annoyingly. So we're doing squats to try and curb the curve, as it were. So for 10,000 channel points, roughly once every half an hour, you'll get to see me do 20 squats. Are we doing exercise? We are doing exercise. Whilst our villager friend over here runs laps, more or less. So here we go. Enjoy this camera, everybody. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I suppose if I wanted to be, like, particularly video gamer toxic, I suppose I could just say that these are a practice for when I'm teabagging you in Call of Duty or something, but there we go. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we have it. Okay. Villager keeps looking. Yeah. He's just having a time. He's been trapped in this box for ages. In fact, I'm fairly certain I summoned this guy fresh, but are you from the Nether, out of curiosities? Let's see, is it types? Yeah, I think it's the types section. Origin, there you are. You're from the overworld, okay. Well, now I know. Okay. So, we have a registry. 2, actually. It is getting created properly, but whilst our data is being generated, it's not being read for some reason. For some reason, our data is just being read and it's finding absolutely nothing inside of the actual generation. So there's still a significant problem that we need to try and figure out. Apologies for the sound of heavy breathing, that kind of happens when you do 20 squads. Was it like, how many channel points is it for like for Strife to do 5 squats out of curiosity? Am I one hell of a bargain? Do let me know. He also saves his for like the end of the stream, so if you don't hang around until the end of the stream, you never see the value of it. But okay, right. So let's see, where are you? There. Mine are much more expensive. It's 1,500 for 5. Yeah, I know the number of points is more expensive, his is higher, but also the number of squats is higher. Yeah, so the registry does exist. It does get registered. You can see that happening quite happily. So why do we... Well, I guess part of it's because the data is somehow ending up in the wrong place. 1,500 for 5, and you can only do 10 max. Okay, so yeah, at Strife's rate, you would only need 6k points to get him to do 20, but... caps out a lot lower. But also, really? He stops at 50? I did 100 in the first stream when we had that. Do I need to register the provider in both the client and the server? Is that maybe it? Maybe, let's have a look. Let's check the data provider for vampires. We are using as a guidebook on this. Okay, no reference to it that way. Lord, this thing is a mess. He also disables them when it's late or they're having adult juice. Okay, skill node generator, which is kind of our guide here, is only on the server. Okay, so it's not there. I'm gonna find out that there's like some stupid thing with the data generators that I'm completely overlooking, isn't there? Well, let's see. There's nothing specific there that seems related to it. This gets referenced by various equipment. Oh, nice guys. There, okay, which is exactly where ours is, I think, currently. Yeah, right there. No problem. And then the... Well, we only have item tags and whatnot that are provided here, but that's not too helpful, but... There's nothing in here I can see that would cause any trouble. So it should be fine. Yeah, I don't see any separation between item tags and our species, except that item tags are pre-built into Minecraft. As far as I can tell, there is no reason that data should be generated inside the mod files for various equipment, but not for various oddities. Why do I seem to always end up in this position where one of my mods does what I want it to do, but the other one doesn't? By the way, we believe that we have a fix currently for blindness not working. I ported blindness from the various equipment blindfold into various oddities as its own ability, so we can actually just like apply the blind effect to people rather than creating it every single time, which also means that we have a good foundational point of determining if someone is blind. We just check for the blind ability. So now the various equipment blindfold functions just by tacking onto the Gather Abilities event and adding blindness. But for a fair while it wasn't working in various oddities either, as though it was specifically part of the client mix-ins that were just not working. Everything else works just fine. For instance, you still got given the blindness effect from the blind ability, but your vision was otherwise unimpaired. We believe, tentatively, that we have figured that out. In theory, that should work with the next version of various oddities and various equipment. Can't confirm for the time being, because apparently the dependency structure for various equipment is, and I am quoting the Forge devs, gross. So they're frequently a very unhelpful lot. If Lang had to do a 24-hour stream with squats at every available point, Lang will do 47 times squats, or 940. At least there would be half an hour of time in between them. Like, I'm doing 20 squats, but there's half an hour of like, break in between. So there's that. And that's how I did 100 squats the first time. I'm genuinely surprised that I haven't done 100 squats every time, but... On the one hand, I can't complain. On the other hand, I feel like I should complain. Because that feels like something that I should actually be like... That feels like something I should actually be complaining about, but... Oh well. Let's just... Let's collate things a little bit here, shall we? Because we've got one registry that we need to, well, we've got two theoretical registries that we need to register to, so it might as well actually define them all in the same place. On the one hand, I'd prefer not to, but... At the very least, we can initialize and then call the other things here from one spot, which gives us a nice place to not just have this. Oh, was that the wrong one? That might have been the wrong one. Yes, that was. Okay, so instead of going there, we ask VO registries what it thinks about that. And then similarly, we have something for this. Now we can have all of our registries actually be populated in the same space. It's not necessarily something I want to be doing, because I'll still have that problem of needing to look for that. suppose I could just register it as an event subscriber. That would probably work better. Yeah. I should have an event subscriber somewhere around here. I guess otherwise I can just register the data generator, just kind of like... Is registry event put for the mod event bus or the main event bus? I don't know. Let's find out. Register new registries when you receive this event through the link recipe builder. Does not help me. Mod bus event. Okay. So if we just add the bus, then can I add a bus or just register a bus? Let's see, consumer, priority, no. Generic listener. Don't think that helps. Registries are a huge thing over here. Let's see what we got. Let's make registry. Okay. It is registry event. Dot register. But registry manager. Okay. There's the build registries part that we already know about. And there's every individual thing. Right. Okay, where is registry manager? Oh yeah, there's the vampire creature type, which means that vampires and vampirism technically aren't undead. It's a weirdness, but... Okay. Mod event bus, register that. Okay. Now we know. So that is VO registries. So we add subscribe event there. That should get the species going. And then we want a similar one for abilities. This is severely top heavy, but it will. I'm kind of doing that thing at the moment where I'm just you know, not really actually doing anything meaningful, but here we are. I guess it's not that. Should be fine for them. Let's see, forge registry, ability registry. And this is something that's coming to species as well. Yep, there we go. For that, oh boy. That shouldn't be a problem, I think. I think that shouldn't be a problem. What is your problem, though? Typeable is not a valid subject for the ban parameter. T extends I4 registry entry T of the... Oh, right, yes. Okay. Not a problem with that now. Oh right, it needs builders, doesn't it? Ability.builder. Okay, that's fine. There is still a problem here. Okay, that's good. Do you need to actually generate that? So static, public static void init. Doesn't need to actually do anything. Okay, so that should generate all of our abilities into a registry where they properly should be, and at the right times. We hope. So now species and abilities are registered in the exact same step. So that's fine, that's fine. Or it should be, at the very least. So that then just leaves the listener reload. Which, to our knowledge, does not currently work. Well, let's see what happens, shall we? Whoop, there's a problem. What did I miss? Types. Oh, a lot of them. Right. Every single one of these is now a problem because of that. This is why you do these things on the extreme ground level of things. So that you don't have 50 of these things to go through. I probably should have done this sooner, but here we are. There are now 14 different things that I need to fix in here. suppose I could create a super inability just asking for registry name, and that would save a bit of trouble here. That is probably a good idea, actually, come to think of it. Yes, there are some things that are subject to change. Poison currently is just a static ability from your melee attacks. There is a plan that it will also be an activated ability, so it'll do its normal effect, but also if you activate it, it'll apply a temporary, like poison to the item you're holding. So, for example, if you happen to have a poison ability, you can apply your poison to, like, a weapon. Temporarily, but helpful nonetheless. Why are there 9... Okay, most of it is... Is there a problem here? Unphasable... Generated, tags, resource... It's probably fine. Duplicate of resources data of item was not copied to the output folder. Interesting. Where is that? It's fine for right now, at least. Okay, so ability, let's actually call protected ability resource location registry name. There. Now I have 17 problems. But I also know that these things will have the right registry names, so there's that. I also know that all of them have registry name as their thing here, so we should be able to mostly just clone this. That feel when you accidentally some grunt work. Can I just call that? Probably, except I need to build that. So it's probably worth me actually changing this one. Hopefully that's not going to cause a problem elsewhere. In before it immediately causes a problem elsewhere. Well, same thing happens here, it would seem. That's me being lazy with the builders, really. So, reminder, the registry name is immutable. Once it is set, it does not change at all for the abilities. It is the thing that we use to retrieve the ability from the main server registry. Once it is compiled into your list of abilities, it uses what's called a map name instead. And that allows us to have some abilities that are you can only have one instance of, and some abilities where there can be any number of. So we can reliably know what the name of a given kind of ability is going to be in the map, so we can just override that if we want to, like, replace it with something else. Whereas with the registry, we don't want to be replacing anything. Ideally. This way we know everything has a registry name and that it has been set. Which makes things a mite bit easier. Nearly there. Problems I created for myself, but nearly there. Okay. Done. Okay, right. So now we should have a full-blown ability registry that actually gets populated and created properly. So, run data, see what happens next. That doesn't have to read in from data packs, that should be static. The idea here is that we have as many different predefined Lego pieces, and then a species is taking those Lego pieces and plugging them together to create something. Whoop, and there's already a problem. On reload, that listener takes an argument that's not a subtype of the base type. Okay. There's our registries. There's our registries. Modbus events, yes. Oh wait, that's the wrong thing. I was talking about this. Is that not a Modbus event? That is not. That is fired on the regular one. Okay, right, so we need to take that off. And over here, add a new listener, VO registries, on reload listener event, because that happens on a different event bus. What is your problem? Does not define. What? Oh, I guess I misentitled it. Now what's your problem? Huh? Is it because it's not static? Let's find out. There we go. Right. Now those should all happen on the right buses. Okay. Here's the species data. Good. And then immediately into... Okay, so I guess that's happening simultaneously. That's curious. Status effect is applied twice. I know why. I know why that's happening. That is a holdover from previous iterations. Because things like ability invisibility extends from status effect. Okay, that's why that was being defined twice. Anything else in here twice? There's 3 instances of status effect. Oh god, what did I do wrong? What extends from that? Blindness? Yeah, blindness does. Why? That is a weird organizational structure. Why is that there? Okay. So status effect, yes, that should be all 3, so those should all be properly registered again without having multiples. I am curious why it's doing that. Also, why is species being generated there? Init, yes, all good. Register species, register abilities. Okay. Do I init the abilities at the wrong point? Quite possibly. Yeah, there's do common setup. That might be happening at the exact same point. Do I want to register that at the end of that effect then? So we register the listeners at the end of that. Possibly a wise idea. That's probably why it's calling that. At a guess, at least. Okay. Let's try that again. We want to make sure everything happens at the right time. Because if we try to register something before the registry exists, then there's a problem and it won't get registered. If we try to go the opposite direction, gathering species data, yes, doing the same thing. Interesting. And we still have 3 instances of status effect when we should not. So it's probably retrieving the super one rather than getting this one. Nope, that's not it. That goes to there, which goes to there, so it shouldn't be able to get anything else. Oh yeah, the species are all muddled in here. Necropolitan right there into hold breath and natural regeneration. Okay, we don't need that. Or that, for that matter. That really shouldn't be using status effect, but we're still seeing that. Despite the fact that we know nothing's calling that. Or it shouldn't be. Aha, there we are. Apparently something is. Yep. Registry name, thank you very much. Okay, then that's fine, but the builder is apparently calling that. Okay, that's fine. So why are we still saying free? Blindness wasn't found in that. Blindness, by the way, actually does apply the blind ability, the blind status effect, for the reason that a bunch of different mods use the blindness status effect as a check on whether you can see something, which is absurd because it doesn't actually hide much. But oh well. Anyways, I'll be back in 10 minutes. See you then. welcome back everybody to the final hour of our evening, and I have figured out a thing. I know why this is happening. Firstly, I know why there's always 3 instances of status effect called in here, and I figured out why it is always being muddled together with the different species that we define. It's because when the species get defined, they have to reference these different abilities, which of course are now registering their registry names as part of their initializers, and consequently, the order in which abilities are added here is also the exact same order that they are being generated down here. So, natural armor, damage reduction, fast healing, Fey, natural armor, damage reduction, fast healing. That's why that's happening. I don't think that's actually a problem to that end. We just have to run the client and see exactly how these things line up. Hopefully it'll be fine, but we'll see. This won't solve our species problem, but it's a sign that we haven't hacked up the registry for our abilities whilst trying to fix the registry for our species. Huh. So, I'm not seeing anything in here. I don't see abilities in this list at all. Well, let's check the debug log. Okay, bad sign. Neither of our registries exists. Oh heck. Wait, if neither of our registries exist, why was the data thing complaining about it then? Okay. Init registries should get called. Surely. And as soon as it gets called, it generates the abilities registry. So... why not? Why for not? Well, let's add a log message here and find out if this actually does get called or not. Because we should see it there, but apparently we're not, and that's definitely going to cause some problems. Yep. Right to there. Because there's a registry missing. Somehow. Doesn't tell me which one, but I think we can guess it's all of them. Well, there's species. Forge modulo detected missing or unknown registries. Missing registries, abilities. Somehow we got one of them and not the other. Was that instance used anywhere? I think that's just used for reloading. Yeah. So there's the registry for species. There's where it actually gets set. There's the init that does heck all, because it doesn't need to. Bleh, bleh, bleh. So how is the abilities registry non-existent? That doesn't make sense. How can one of these exist but the other not? We're not extending out of something that I might have forgotten about. we just push through that? I don't think we can. Let's find out, I guess. Just see what comes up here on the far left. Okay, registering. Missed something there, I feel, but anyway. Bunch of stuff, bunch of stuff, bunch of stuff. Nothing in there, as far as I could tell, about various oddities. Nope. Okay, neither of those. And then there's that problem, which is that the registry is missing. Is that just a world save thing, I wonder? Safe mode? You gonna be okay with safe mode? Apparently not. Yeah, still miss. How? How are we missing one of these, but not the other one? Hang on, let's just create a really new world. Peaceful, creative, don't care voice. Just go. Doesn't make sense that only one of them would exist, is the weirdness. Yep, perfectly fine there. Okay, good luck, sir. No mention of there being an unknown registry here. Interesting. Well, we definitely don't want to have it be that you can only make new worlds. We don't want it to be a situation where, for instance, we put this on the Unlikely Reunion pack and everybody's worlds break. Mildly relieved that that doesn't work. Missing abilities, I'm guessing? Nope, we've got 2 registries in there. Okay, but there's a problem. Yeah, it's missing... It is missing a registry, but this time it doesn't even tell me which one. Interesting. How can we possibly have only one of those be working when they're initialized in the exact same function? Is there a reference to species registry that I've completely forgotten about? Let's see. I guess that's the species provider, which calls into that, but that might cause it to act earlier than intended. Doesn't make much sense, gotta say. Okay, let's go over here and see if there's a thing in the event we need to use. Let's see, listener list. Results, value. Nope. Not really anything here we tack on to. This is very strange. This isn't even meant to be like tacked onto data. It shouldn't make any sense. So, somehow, I've managed to break the abilities registry. Admittedly, making the abilities registry do what the species registry does, whilst the species registry doesn't actually work. Probably not my smartest of ideas, but interesting. I wonder if it's something to do with the difference between a species and an ability builder. Because here we have that, and we therefore have this, which I believe is tied into up here. I'm not 100%. I don't think it's actually used anywhere, except for storage, which we're not obviously doing anything with. But maybe that's it. We don't want to be putting abilities into JSON, because then you can change what abilities do, which is not the point of abilities. That's why they have MBT. But if you can just change what they do wholesale, not so good. I guess we need a serializer then? Is that the thing I'm forgetting about, maybe? It's about the only thing I can think of, but that doesn't make any sense. Are we creating the registry in a different manner? I guess that's the next question. Nope, that looks to be utterly identical. This is very odd. Very odd indeed. That's all fine and good. There's no... Okay, we don't have to set the registry name, so that's fine. That part I can get rid of now. No, it's just void. Okay. I also actually don't need this to return anything anymore. So it's literally just a matter of registry.register. So I could actually simplify this a whole ton. Thinking about it, maybe that'll solve things. I don't know. Minecraft code is a weird, like, rhombus of a thing. Yeah, that's basically all I need for all of these now. I just have to do it for all of these now. And I can't just find replace because these are all different class names. I'm doing that thing where I've made a whole ton of extra work for myself. But the goal, essentially, is that once we've actually got a registry that works running, we'll have a actual, like, guide for how to get the other registry working. Albeit in a different fashion, and I see some squats in the chat there. Oh goody. 1 hot second. Right, run the data. And I will find out what errors are in that in a hot moment when I've actually finished this up. Right. Okay, so 20 spots for these glutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a 20. Done. Okay, so we're still seeing all of that there. Okay, that's fine. We're pretty much okay with that. Although that might indicate that they're getting... That might indicate that they're getting generated at the wrong time. We'll see, I guess. Let's find out if they actually show up in the log. They still don't show up in the registries. Interesting. I can only presume that we're putting registry event in the wrong place. But if that were the case, it would be erroring. Like it's iModBus event, which means it should be happening in the Modbus, where we currently register this thing. Well, let's try loading a world, see what happens. Yeah, we expected that much. What did we find? It loaded species, but it didn't find abilities. Why not? In fact, abilities is loaded first here. Unless it got dumped there? I think it's part of the data generators. That's my only conclusion, is that it's part of the data generators. Because those call the species, which in turn call the abilities. Let's see. Those are the real listeners. Quite why they do it this way, I don't know, but this is how vampirism does it. Let's see, where's your registries? Registry Manager on Gather Data event. Okay. And then your mod registries should be around here somewhere. Or not in the least bit at all. Interesting. Ah, Registry Manager, that's what I'm looking for. Build registries, initialize the registries. Okay. On modify attributes. Interesting. Gather data. And here's all of the different registry events. Which we're essentially doing exactly this. Except that we don't have IENet listener, which is part of Team Lapin's stuff. This is an odd one. Where is Registry Manager hooked to? it is hooked to... Oh, it is hooked to both. The same registry manager is hooked to both the mod event bus and the Forge event bus. Okay, that might explain a little bit. Okay then. It's probably worth actually having a thing here then. Let's see, VO registries. Is that not going to cause problems then with the Reload Listeners event? Or is that actually somewhere in here? Nope, it's right here. Wait, no, it is... It is caused... Okay, why is it on both? That doesn't make sense. Okay, I guess I just shove that in the other thing and then hopefully it figures itself out. Okay, put some info here. What's the phrase here? Collecting, gathering, you know. Populating, that'd be the word. Run the data, see what we get. Okay, same thing happening as per usual there, which, again, we're not dreadfully surprised about. There's the providers, yeah. Okay, so run the client. Do we see the registry listed? Do we see either of the registries listed for that matter? Nope, all I see is world types, still. Okay, if we try to log in, it'll error, but will it have any other things? It still got to species before it got to abilities, because it couldn't find that. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that event doesn't get called as near as I can tell. Just doesn't exist at all. Let's see, what was the message we added? Creating. Can we see that anywhere in there? Nope, that event did not get called, which means they didn't get registered when they should have. Okay, why not? Because we're registered to both things here. There's nothing in here. Really, it's just a class. It's just a it's just a basic class. It's not it's an event subscriber, a bus. And the init is just right there. How very, very strange. Okay, can we instead just generate all of the registries in there? I don't really want to put them there, but we could just access them all from elsewhere. So we just take these registries, plonk them into here instead, and then everything will be in the same place, and hopefully that'll mean that they work equally well. Doubtful, knowing my luck, but, you know, maybe I get lucky. Just once. It'll also mean I would have to have this make registry function in 2 different places. One-stop shop. Okay. Where does it have its registry manager versus a registry's just core? Whereas its manager is inside of also core. Trust will be in it. Okay, now they are generated in the exact same event. They're already generated in the exact same event, but things were going weird anyways, so who knows. And that was also not being called, so I don't know. Shouldn't be possible. It should just tack on and be called, but apparently not. Well, let's give her a run, see what happens. Oh, there's a problem. Ah, yes, command. Honestly, I'm surprised it doesn't find more like that, but it's fine. So, entire registries are going missing, or they're not being populated, or they're they're not able to read back from files. It's a weird old world. I don't think I see it there either. Nope. Okay, well. Out here, see what it complains about. Apparently nothing. Somehow. Okay, we're in game. No abilities, which is correct for... targets... What am I defined as? A humanoid, so I have no abilities. Correct. Can I add an ability is the next question. No, because the registry is empty. How about species? Nope, can't do anything there. Okay. I have just broken the ability system entirely. Joy. Okay. I can still set types, presumably, so I can still get abilities that way, but none of the activated. Let's check the log. Creating... or created... what is it? Is it still the same problem? I think it probably is. Yeah, creating VR registries does not get called, despite the fact that it's absolutely referenced. Let's see, there's the registry manager. That's the thing that gets these two things. That's where that happens. Registry manager apparently is not called anywhere, but I doubt that. Yep, right there. Hey, so, welcome to the last 15 minutes. The mod event bus registered there. Okay, the Forge event bus registered there. Is there anything else? Gather data calls as well. Load complete init step. Init step as well. Bunch of places for there. Okay, so it does a bunch of other things. I really doubt that's related to what our problem here is, but let's find out. Examining those. Common setup, all of that stuff. No reference to the skills or the actions thing, which is what we're kind of interested in here. Nope. Register skills event is right there, but we've determined that that's not getting called either. Missing mappings. Missing mappings for skills. Interesting. What is that event about? I wonder if that's related. That's also not in a Modbus event. That might be why that's on both. Okay. Welp, one way to find out. hate that I have to create one of these for each ability, for each class, but oh well. Next question. What do those things actually do when they fix mappings? For each missing mapping, go for all of that, remap to that. Okay, no, that's the wrong thing we're looking for here. We're looking for skills. There we are. But apparently that doesn't exist, or else it would be linking us to it, so bleh. Okay, fine. 100 skills. We can find these things happily. Hopefully. There you are. Okay. So there's all of the registration, which we have as is already. There's the fixed mappings. Okay, if missing mapping key to string starts with that, then ignore. Interesting. Okay. What could be happening there? Start, if it does start with that, then... Very odd. So, as near as I can tell, the answer is it does heckle. Simple underskill take weapons. Okay, those are just things that don't do anything or referenced elsewhere. Registry. This is exactly what we're doing now, essentially, with the abilities. I presume then simple hunter skill takes this and plugs it into the registry name. Let's find out. See, simple skill, string ID gets, yep, into that, which, yep, sets the registry name. Okay, so we're doing exactly the same thing. Let's have a look at mod registries. Oh, there you are. When it creates all of these, does not seem to add any detail. I don't think this will fix it, it's just busy work, more or less. Okay, so for whatever reason, our registries aren't being created, and because they aren't being created, they aren't being populated, and because they aren't being populated, we can't use them. But we know that the handler is here. We just know that it's also not being used anywhere. That also seems to be largely irrelevant for our purposes at the moment, but who knows. And what's weird is we had both of them working just fine like an hour and a half ago. Lord, I hate Forge and its utter, or near total absence of documentation. Well, I shouldn't be entirely unfair there. It does have documentation in extremely remote and unspecified locations. Like when they diagnosed my problem with the client-side mix-ins of various equipment being gross, they linked me to a tiny community-driven wiki which had pages exclusively about adding dependencies to your mod, which even then weren't even very helpful. It's like, you wonder why people hate Forge devs. Like, they are laconic to a fault that would make the Spartans confused. Yeah. Nothing in either case there. Because there's just nothing in the registries. And I'm guessing if we search here, we'll not find it anywhere either. Nope. Nothing. Species. Attempting to load species from data. That is the that's the like other section. Danger. Why? Okay, so they're created. They're just not registered. Like, we should be seeing a whole bunch of stuff here, but somehow we're not, and that doesn't make sense. Do we see any of the other things happening here? Populating. No, this whole thing does not get called at all. Probably because these registries don't exist, so it doesn't know it has to. But then why does this not get called? It's a Modbus event. We register it to the Modbus? Does not make sense for it to just not get called anywhere. Where's vampirism? Just looking for the root vampirism class here. Because it has... Let's see. What we're calling the registry handler is what it calls a registry manager. That's where it initializes, right there. I genuinely am at a loss to figure out why in the hell this is doing what it's doing currently. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, right there. Mod event bus, main event bus. And it adds a bunch more stuff that, as near as we can tell, is entirely relevant to us at the moment. There's the reload listener, which we've already checked. We can see that that works. Ish. It doesn't actually retrieve anything, but we can see that it works. But because there's nothing in the ability registry, there's nothing that it could possibly like register to, so little irrelevant there. If I check the, let's see, ability registry, ability listeners is added there when they are registered. Just adds them to the main bus. This is very bizarre. So we have an ability, we have a event subscriber that we know is subscribed that never gets called on either the mod bus or the main event bus. Despite the fact that it was a second ago. We were getting at least half of them, but not now. This is utterly absurd. And because the registries aren't being generated, they're not being populated, and because they're not being populated, nothing else works. Huh. This is very strange indeed. Okay, it's fine. Let's look through here and see if we can't find something that might explain it. Something we haven't spotted. Because the only way that I can figure that this would work, or fail to work, rather, is if there was some part where we have to register them a bit more specifically. Like, say, hey, check for this.
Study our perception of self. That wave isn't necessarily a thing you achieve.
Mind you, I do not need spoken word poetry in my music. I should get, like, premium pretzel just so you guys could actually skip songs. Now, there's nothing here about making sure those things are registered, and the mod registries thing itself doesn't seem to have anything about it either. Any references to this? Apparently none. None whatsoever. Doesn't make any sense at all, which is the worst kind of mod. The worst kind of bug. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it doesn't give you any kind of detail as to what the problem is. There's no null pointers. There's no like unregistered errors or anything. It just doesn't work. Okay, there's like one last thing that I can check, which is to see where that gets called. Deferred register, is that anywhere inside of... I know I've heard tell of that before. Is that anywhere in this repository? Literally nowhere. Okay, good to know. So it's not that. Registry event, new registry, called right there in the mod loading stage. So, are we checking it at a different point in here? Vampirism mods. It is right there. I don't really want to stop the stream until we have something resembling progress, rather than what I currently have, which is actually a step backwards. But there's just no explanation for this, really. I'm often just to close Eclipse and open it again, see if that fixes it. Yeah, the registries just do not exist. That never gets called. Somehow. And that makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, there's like one last thing that I think I can check. And that is to literally add a breakpoint right here and see if that ever gets called. Ever. Let's see if that ever gets called. Let's find out. So, call that, and then over here, add a breakpoint there. Don't think we need any of the other ones. Yeah, that we can deal with later. Okay. Because it doesn't ever actually get populated, it's totally useless to us. So run client there. See if the new registry event ever gets called. If it does, this should freeze. Apparently it never got called. Odd. Yeah, the new registry event never gets called. So consequently, none of our stuff initializes. Huh. And because of that, we don't have anything to actually give it at all. Well, so that line never got triggered, so the whole thing failed. That is bizarre. I mean, we knew that it was working before. Why not now? That makes no sense at all. So now neither of these registries exists, effectively. So it has nothing to register to. So it has nothing to populate into our lists, so we can't do anything with it. The handlers won't work, the commands won't work, all because what appears to be the very correct way of doing this never happens. And it just started not happening. Anyway, I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to close Eclipse, I'm going to reboot it, and maybe, by some miracle, it'll start working again, because that doesn't make sense. It genuinely doesn't. To paraphrase The Emperor's New Groove, why do we even have that event? If it's not actually going to be called anywhere. Okay, switch workspace back to there. Like this, it should be died here, but very strange, very strange. Okay, there it is. Run it. We know our other code gets called, but not the actual part where we call to create the registries. Nope, just completely absent. Utterly absent. Should be right at the end here. Totally absent. Species. Species providers right there is the registry handler. Registry handler is right there. Okay, good. So registries. Gonna be a lot of these, I'm sure. What did I call it? I called it creating VO registries. Okay. It's not here. Yeah, it just never gets called. Interesting. It obviously is the right name of event. That's literally the last thing I could think of here. But it's also a static. It's a void. It should be callable. Okay. There's gotta be something really incredibly simple here that I have just completely overlooked. But no, everything appears to be in order. God, that's frustrating. Not only have we managed to not fix our problem, we've actually created a whole new one that's actually substantially worse. Because it was fine if species weren't working at the moment because we still had abilities, but now I can't even test abilities. Huh. Well, sorry folks. It was going to be one of those nights, but it really is one of those nights. Wow. Am I just not calling that from the right place? That's literally the only thing I can think of here. Static void int references. The registry manager, which we were just in. Inside of unbuilt registries. Actually, those aren't statics. That's interesting. Pretty sure they have to be statics for to actually call. But I guess they could be just doing something weird inside of there. Huh. Alright, well. Apologies, everybody, but that's all I got for you tonight. A weird, weird mystery. Very strange mystery indeed. You see, my next stream should be on Thursday with some Among Us with the fans and the folks. And then on Saturday, we should have some random games with the patrons. If you are a patron, on Sunday, we do happen to have our monthly patron games day going on as well, usual times. And I'll be back for hopefully a bit more progress on Tuesday at 9. Otherwise, keep an eye out on youtube.com/rumorcomic, where I have recently started uploading also the Complot Home server stream VODs as well. And everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. I really don't like having stream where we don't manage to accomplish anything, but oh well. Somehow we've even gone backwards. Well, time to besiege the vortex.